All right, guys, the watch list for Monday, which is going to be March 7th. This is by far the smallest watch list I've had in a while. And there's a reason for it. If you look at the SPY, I mean, it just keeps climbing, climbing, climbing. We are nearing the 200 day. But the reason I have such a small list is because I populate my overnight watch lists. Remember, I'm a day trader, so I'm looking for things that are going to make me and the members in the chat room money the following trading session, right? So the way to do that is populate my list with what I call recent high relative volume movers. Okay, so now when you go on and you start to look at the recent high relative volume movers and I like to just go 2, 3, 4 days back at the most. Okay, so that way I'm always dealing with stuff that's having high relative volume in the moment. Okay, that is much better than I used to do, which was just look for nice chart patterns, but I ignored the fact that some of these beautiful chart patterns I might find have had no recent high relative volume, so they're just trudging along, and you generally don't get follow through when you don't have enough participants and enough passion in that particular trading vehicle. So I do much better now that I focus on high relative volume, from the last 3, 4, 5 days, and not just volume, but a nice price movement as well. So when I run the search for the last few days today, most of the stocks I find have just been up really strong 3, 4 days in a row. So I certainly don't want to call those as longs. And if anything, I'd probably could have built a list of potential shorts, but this market is so strong that I'm not really looking to short either. So what I'll do is, we'll find some gappers each morning this week. And after Monday, we'll find new standouts, right? Because of news stories. You got so many companies and so many different stories with these companies that there's almost always something to trade. But having said all that, there's not that much as far as I like for a setup for Monday morning. Hopefully we'll find some gappers. And then starting Monday night, we'll have hopefully a new list to draw on. All right, enough babbling. So here's what I've got. And then SDRL, this is something that just made such a crazy move. It opened at 321 and went all the way up to 749 before settling in around 6. So this is not something that I'm going to go long at the open or anything like that, but one of the just to give you an example, one of the moving averages we look for is this on 5-minute candle 60 period moving average. All right, on Friday afternoon, and none of us, as far as I know, nobody in the chat room had shares available short when this started to go parabolic to the upside. I tried, TradeStation didn't have them. So then you start to look for the first place for a decent bounce. So when it looked like this, I said, hey, this is getting near the 560 is what we call it in the chat room, 5-minute candle, 60 period moving average. And so a lot of times you can either look for a 1-minute turn there or just a buy right at that 560 with a stop maybe 20 cents below, something like that. And so I actually gave the alert in the chat room that, hey, SDRL is getting near the 560. So just picture yourself having a bid at $4.80. Look what happens. I mean, it just basically touched that and it went down to 474, and then all the way up to $6. I'm sorry, not $6 to 674. From a 480 grab. That's a huge move. And it's pretty rare in our chat room that something strong from the morning isn't alerted by somebody if it's nearing the 560. So there's a little tool you can add to your trading arsenal. Of course, as with any trade or any setup or any idea, it's not always going to work. So you have to control your risk with proper position size and figure out where you're going to put your stop and so on. But this is actually a great example of using the 560 and had a huge bounce. So having said that, that's a good example of what it did on an intraday basis. So even though it made such a huge move, and so you don't want to chase something, it's probably going to be a decent trading vehicle for the next several days. So that's why it lands on watch, all right? HPE, relatively new issue. You can tell it hasn't been trading that long, and then had a really big volume on Friday and closed at 1544. So I'm just going to throw that one on my radar for a possible red to green. AEZS had a nice trade in this one a couple sessions ago. Didn't do anything with it on Friday. It's a lower volume stock, obviously. But I like the breakout here, and then had a little bit of topping tail and now a red day. So I'd like to see this come down for another day, but let's start watching AEZS for another pushback up. It's a low float, so it really moves fast at times. PSTG, also a relatively new issue. Actually gapped up 2 sessions ago on earnings, but then sold off, and then also sold off again on Friday. It's getting down back near the 20-day, so this goes on bounce watch. I like this one for a potential bounce up on Monday. And then another low price, kind of low volume stock, EYEG, which broke this trend line here, but it did it via the gap, which I don't like. I do like the chart a lot, especially when you pan out. You can see this thing can really move at times. This was like, for instance, this day went from 179 to 375. You know, it's a huge day. Another huge day back here. And now you gapped up and you came in and closed about where it opened on Friday. So the potential long setup here. I'm not in love with this one. It only traded 258,000 on Friday. Again, just to repeat myself, hopefully we'll find some nice gappers to play in the morning. And also as the day unfolds, very good group in the chat room looking for potential reversal setups. There's a good 30 to 40 people in there that absolutely know what a reversal setup looks like. And so it's pretty rare that something doesn't get what we call shape to the upside or shape to the downside, that somebody doesn't alert it to the room, so then we can start looking for moves into support or into resistance and fade some of those moves. So there's almost always something to trade in the chat room, all right? Even though, like today, such a terrible low excitement list that I have, things will unfold on Monday and then for the rest of the week as well. So, all right, I'm done babbling. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll talk to you on Monday.